Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 18th of July, 2025, and as always, holding the mainstream media's feet to the fire because they lie, they manipulate, they propagandize, and guess what, bozos? You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Freaking Out Friday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and are you freaking out yet? Well, maybe that's part of the plan. Anyway, I tell you, there's so much going on. The old adage, the old methodology of, watch my right hand so you don't see what my left hand is doing. Okay, well, if you apply that with what's going on with the media frenzy, of course, everybody's talking about the Epstein file, the Epstein. The bigger the distraction, the bigger thing it is that they're trying to keep you from looking at. All right, we're going to get to that in just a couple of seconds here. I got a bunch of things I want to bring to your attention. But as always, I'd like to let you know that this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. I stand behind this product, and I wouldn't be promoting anything on this broadcast. I will not allow this show to turn into an infomercial and just sell stuff because I can make money. No, I'm going to promote products that I thoroughly believe in simply because they're good products. And I'm telling you that the Wave Watch, hey, it's helping out my eyesight. I reached a plateau for a while. I've been running this program for eye clarity. And I did see an improvement last year when I first started using the Wave Watch, but I reached a plateau, and then I started running other programs and sort of got away from running the eye program. But anyway, for the past week or so, I've been running the eye program, and, my eyesight's getting better again. And I got my reading glasses, my readers, and I got up this morning, picked up the newspaper. I didn't have my readers on, and I was just getting my coffee. I'm staggering around here. You know how it is in the morning when you get to this age. But I picked up the newspaper, and all of a sudden I realized I was reading it without my readers again. I said, whoa, this doggone thing is great. And if you haven't done any research on it, please do. You're doing yourself a tremendous disservice if you don't. So please visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and check out the Wave Watch. And then do your own research. Figure out what Rife technology is. And once you figured that out, once you got it all figured out, go back to the Wave Watch and get yourself one. And you'll get a discount of $100 if you use our promo code REDPILL100. But that'll be automatically applied when you click on the link at our website. So again, please visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. All right, that said, I got a bunch of things I want to get to today, but before I do, I want to remind everybody that there are a lot of people out there with degrees and diplomas and awards, and they got all kinds of stuff hanging on their walls, and they're absolute idiots. You know what I mean. And on the other hand, there are people out there that are pumping gas or flipping burgers that are geniuses. So, I want to remind you that you don't have to have, you don't have to be a registered, licensed pyrotechnic expert to have a valid claim of fire. We're dealing with just common sense. So if you've got common sense, you're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. If you have the ability to look at information, put the one piece of information in this hand, put another information in that hand, weigh it out for yourself, you can figure this stuff out. But unfortunately, the way our system is set up here, the public education, or shall I say the public indoctrination system, it carries through into the halls of higher education. Anybody that's done any research, into the development of our curriculum in not just the public schools, but also in the universities, hey, it goes all the way back to Rockefeller. Yes, it does. Do some research. You'll understand why they're pumping out graduates from high school. Like I said, there was a girl up in Connecticut. They pushed her through high school. She graduated with a 5th grade reading level. Oh, no, excuse me. No, that's somebody else. No, this woman is functionally illiterate. She can't read or write. And she's going to the University of Connecticut. This is by design, folks. So anybody that tells me, they got a degree, they got a college education. Yeah, they majored in this and majored in that. They're supposed to make them an expert? I don't think so. So, listen to your local conspiracy theorist. Pay attention, because these are the people who are using their cognitive skills and, the ability to discern right from wrong and common sense. Listen to your local conspiracy theorist, because to be honest, hey, look at the track record over the past 10 years. I mean, we quote-unquote conspiracy theorists are batting 1,000. So, start thinking outside of the cage. Don't let the mainstream media or social pressures prevent you from thinking. Don't let it happen. And again, I repeat, you don't have to be a registered, certified, and licensed pyrotechnic expert to have a valid claim of fire. Trust your own intuition. All right, that said, I want to follow up with a couple of things that are going on. Earlier this week, I was covering what Francesca Albanese, she's a very outspoken member of the European Union, and she has been raising hell, absolutely raising hell. And I played this clip earlier this week, and I want to just set the stage for what's going on, because, again, while everybody's focusing on Epstein, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So I'm not going to deal a whole lot with this Epstein thing today, but I just wanted to go and review a couple of things that are happening in regard to the EU and the WHO. Anyway, this is what Francesca Albanese had to say about Israel, and she's pretty upset, rightfully so, with the actions that Bibi Netanyahu and his regime has been taking. Here's what she said a few days ago.
What's happening in Gaza is the shame of the century. Gaza has been erased. There is almost nothing left other than the despair of people who continue to perish there. Look at the acts of torture. Look at who's being killed. Doctors, nurses, students, mothers, children. 17,000 children. To look at what the soldiers have done and said, and then have the courage to say that this is not genocide. This genocide would have not been possible without the shocking cover-up by the media. The role that corporate media played in justifying crimes, in spreading misinformation, like the 40 beheaded babies.
We have some really disturbing new information out of Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister's spokesman just confirmed babies and toddlers were found with their heads decapitated in Kfar Aza in southern Israel after Hamas attacks in the kibbutz over the weekend.
The basic ethical principles governing their profession.
I choked up earlier reading this new revelation about 40 babies being killed.
Oh my God.
And some of them being beheaded. And I was like, how can any human being do that to a baby?
The role of international media, of Western media, in acting in defense of the acts of a genocidal state. This is unprecedented, but it's also revealing of the global situation we are facing, the fact that this is not just the genocide of the Palestinians committed by Israel. A number of Western countries are complicit, and so this is an opportunity to interrogate the system we live in, the checks and balances we have as a global community, how people in the West trying to stop the genocide have been repressed. There is momentum and goodwill to make a change, and people feel at loss because they look at their politicians who are in bad faith, especially those who claim to be human rights lawyers.
A siege is appropriate? Cutting off power, cutting off water?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right.
They know that you can.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Those little inserts you might have heard a couple of seconds ago that they were talking about the 40 beheaded babies. That was something that was being promoted by the mainstream press and was published in the New York Times. It was a lie. Yeah, it was a flat-out lie. This is history repeating itself. You may recall during the first Gulf War, You know, they were saying Saddam Hussein's National Guard was going into the hospital and they were taking babies out of the incubators and bayoneting them and playing catch with them. And it was just horrific. And that testimony was given by, what was her name, Naira. And turns out that she was lying. It didn't happen. Well, that's the same thing that's going on right now with this story about beheading the babies. It didn't happen. It was a lie. Anyway, let's continue.
Not advocate for starvation. They know that you cannot doubt that a genocide is ongoing, where the International Court of Justice has recognized the plausibility of genocide. You should act upon the recognition of that plausibility.
I'm well aware of the definition of genocide, and that is why I've never described this and referred to it as genocide.
This genocide is also the consequence of the enduring impunity that Israel has been granted since its foundation. Israel has been allowed to violate hundreds of UN resolutions. And this is the result. A state that behaves as if it was above the law.
That's right. They behave like they're above the law because they got the support of everyone that they have paid off or bribed or blackmailed. That's the way it works. That's why the Western countries, why the EU, and not the EU, why Great Britain and the United States continues to stand behind Israel. They don't want to recognize or acknowledge the actions being taken by Bibi Netanyahu as genocide. They just will not recognize that. But the rest of the world does. Anyway, so Francesca Albanese is standing up against Israel with and also promoting the International Criminal Court, the ICC. Well, what was the U.S. State Department's response? And this came on Wednesday. Here's what the spokeswoman for the U.S. State Department had to say about the International Criminal Court and Francesca Albanese. Here it is.
Additionally, the United States is imposing sanctions on UN Human Rights Council Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese for her abuse of her role. And in recent weeks, she also targeted U.S. companies in an unacceptable campaign of political and economic warfare. The United States will take whatever actions we deem necessary and appropriate to protect our sovereignty, Israel, and any other U.S. ally from illegitimate actions by the ICC. The ICC's actions set a dangerous precedent for lawfare that endangers our national security and foreign policy and infringes on the sovereignty of the United States. The President declared a national emergency under the EO that emphasizes, quote, the United States will impose tangible and significant consequences on those responsible for the ICC's transgressions.
The ICC's transgressions. Yeah. For them to bring up charges against Israel for crimes against humanity. I see. So you're going to have sanctions against a justice system that's calling it out and telling it like it is. That's a sweet move. That's a sweet move. Yeah, okay. We get it. So what's happened now? Okay, yesterday, Francesca Albanese posted the following, and she has left Europe right now, and she's in Colombia. Here's what she had to post yesterday.
The people of the world have woken up, and they're putting their lives on the line for Palestine. No borders, no geography, just solidarity. One struggle, one humanity, and this is keeping moving. Now it's up to the governments to act. The Hague Group was founded just to do that, to bring together states who want to uphold for real international law and stop for real the genocide in Gaza. I commend their effort, and because of this, I will be in Colombia on July 15 and 16, responding to the call of the presidents of Colombia and South Africa for a high-level meeting, an emergency conference on Gaza. Every government that believes in international law and in the future of humanity should be there. And because of that, I call on member states, and especially European ones who have been so in the margin till now, to step up, to join the Hague Group. Use your voice. Turn words into action.
Mm-hmm. So she's not backing down. And so the United States is now, United States and Israel, of course, they're basically joined at the hip. And this is, I'm sad to say this, I'm embarrassed for our government. I really am. I'm embarrassed for being American, because most Americans are sitting on their butts. They should be out in the streets screaming about this. And it's not just about this issue that's going on in Israel. There's so many other reasons why we should be absolutely irate. And yet most people, they just don't want to hear. They're in their bubble. They want to watch their movies, listen to their music, watch their TV. Don't bother me. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Don't you dare pop my bubble. Well, guess what? The bubble's going to pop sooner or later. I'm just trying to help you get through the trauma of having it happen. And I'll tell you, for all the people who have got their heads stuck in the sand, don't forget your butt is exposed when you do that. Anyway, so it's not just Francesca Albanese that's speaking out. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene is screaming about this. You heard about the Catholic Church that got bombed, the last Catholic church in what's left of Palestine. This church goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and it got bombed. Here's the report.
Yes, I'm a Roman Catholic Zionist. I want to say something about that. We've waited like 2,000 years for this word, for these three words together.
Right.
I'm a Roman Catholic Zionist. We've been waiting for 2,000 years to hear from Scott.
Family Church in Gaza City confirms the worst nightmares of the small Catholic community still living in the Holy Land. It recorded a few days ago gives some idea of what it's like to live under the daily threat of being bombed.
Well, the death toll has tragically risen to 3 who have been confirmed dead, meaning that 3 people were killed and 10 others injured as a result of an Israeli strike on the one and only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip. And the religious complex has also been extensively damaged as a result of this attack. Now, here's what we know about the attack. Here are the details. Caritas, which is a Catholic charity that runs mental health services at this church, said that the church's roof was hit by a shell at around 10:10 a.m. local time. The attack ended up scattering shrapnel across the courtyard below, which severely wounded 2 elderly women who were sitting inside of a Caritas tent. Now, it's those 2 women who were initially confirmed as dead as a result of this attack. And then later, another individual was confirmed as dead.
Isn't that something? So Israel has bombed the last Catholic church in the Gaza Strip. Oh, but they love Christians. Hey, all you Christians out there that support Israel, what is wrong with your brain? What is wrong with you? Oh, Zionist Christian. Hey, John Hagee, what happened to you? 30 years ago, you were screaming against the New World Order, and I was pumping my fist for you. But somewhere along the line, you flipped, along with a whole bunch of other pastors out there. You're promoting Zionism, yes, Christian Zionists. Like that guy said a couple minutes ago, Roman Christian Zionists. What an oxymoron. What a bunch of morons. If you're not, I can't figure out any explanation for that. So anyway, you just heard about this report about the Catholic Church being bombed. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene jumped all over this too. Here's what she had to say about it.
Israel bombed the Catholic Church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need, and we haven't had for a very long time.
That's absolutely right. We haven't had that for a very long time because of AIPAC, AIPAC. Now, don't even think about going down this road and saying, oh, Dave, you're an anti-Semite. You hate Jews and everything. No, that's not it at all. There are plenty of Jews out there that are just as disgusted with Israel as the rest of us are. And for you folks in Washington, you elected officials, and all you talking heads, all you lying SOBs on the television, and I'm not just talking about CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Yeah, we can expect you to lie. You've been paid off for decades. But all these new networks that have popped up in the past decade, Newsmax, OAN, One America's News, Real America's Voice, all these new conservative networks, how are you going to walk this back? Hey, Charlie Kirk, how are you going to walk this back? Your undying support for Israel and condemning anybody who dares to criticize the actions being taken by this murderous regime. Bibi Netanyahu and his cabinet, they are imposters. They're not Jews. They came from Eastern Europe. Almost every single one of them has changed their name to make them sound like they are more ethnically appropriate. But they're not they're not indigenous. How are you going to walk this back, Charlie Kirk? How are all you talking heads that have been supporting Israel undyingly, unceasingly, and condemning anybody who dares to criticize Bibi Netanyahu and his murderous genocide, his extermination, his annihilation and total destruction of the Gaza Strip? Anybody who speaks up, oh, that means that you support terrorism. Yeah, you support Hamas. You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist. And all these laws that are being passed, so you can't even criticize them. You can't boycott them. And for those of you who have been victims of the floods and the hurricanes in Texas, if you want to get any aid whatsoever, you have to sign an agreement that you will never criticize Israel. And others even talk about American citizens being deported if you criticize Israel. Hey, what the heck is going on here? When are we going to stand up as patriotic Americans and say, hey, look, it's America first, not Israel first? You elected officials that are in Washington, you have an American flag, or shall I say a United States flag, and a flag of Israel. You folks are traitors. You cannot serve two masters. Simple as that. And for all you members of Congress who were approached by that reporter and say, hey, excuse me, can you just answer a simple question? Is it America first or Israel first? And they turn around and their feet go, and they're gone. They don't want to stand up. They don't want to stick their chest out and proudly say, hey, I'm America first. Because then they would lose that money. Yeah, that AIPAC money. Yeah, lots of money. That's what drives them. Anyway, I'm just getting a little bit worked up on this. Anyway, getting back to Marjorie Taylor Greene, while we are all focusing in on Epstein, meanwhile, Congress is voting on pushing through the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, which is basically economic slavery. And I mean literal slavery. If you don't do what they want you to do, if you don't say what they want you to say, you get a mark against you. They can shut your bank account down, and don't think they won't do it. Remember what happened when all those truckers up in Ontario were going to protest because of what was going on with the plandemic? They got their bank accounts shut down. Yeah. Don't think it can't happen here. Now the infrastructure is being put into place. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene again talking about the CBDCs.
What's happening today on July 17th in 2025 when no one is paying attention, no one's talking about it?
Yeah, this is yesterday, folks. Nobody's talking about it because we're all going, Epstein, sex, Epstein. Go ahead, Marjorie. I'm sorry.
Everyone is in blind rage about the Epstein files, and I don't blame them. However, right now, what is being voted on today in Congress is the entire setup, groundwork, and entire infrastructure being laid to move from cash to digital currency. And the number one thing that is not happening today is a ban on a central bank digital currency. This means the ability for the government to take control of your digital bank account where all your money is and turn it off. And this is why I'm so upset and it's not being talked about. Steve, I was the only no vote on the rule last night. And Congress set a record last night, and no one's talking about that either. This was the longest vote held open for a rule in history. And it finally shut down sometime around midnight because there was a deal made, and the deal will not be honored. It was a deal that Speaker Johnson made, and he said that he would put a ban on central bank digital currency in the NDAA. But let me tell you something, that's going to get stripped out in the Senate because what they told us all week long is the Senate does not have the votes to pass a ban on a central bank digital currency.
Well, I'm telling you, she's banging the drum, and I'm not just trying to focus in on Marjorie Taylor Greene exclusively, but when Francesca Albanese is saying this and that and, facing all kinds of pushback and repercussions because of it, sanctions now, State Department wants to put sanctions against her and the International Criminal Court. And, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually standing up for America, and I was doing some searching to the best of my ability to find out, I haven't seen her take any money from AIPAC. Anyway, I got another clip here. I'm not quite sure. I grabbed this one. I didn't have time to record this one. I don't know. It may be a duplication of what you just heard, but we'll find out. She was on talking with Steve Bannon on Real America's Voice. Let's see what this one is.
Let's start with the Genius Act. I'm very confused about the Genius Act. I thought there was a deal made by the president to make sure that included was going to be the central bank digital currency. There'd be no possibility of a backdoor to get that. So where are we?
Steve, let me explain something. In 1971, we went off of the gold standard. The Federal Reserve did that. And we went to cash, a cash society. And the value of the dollar has drastically gone down to the buying power is less than 10 cents now from where it was in the 1950s before we went off the gold reserve. What's happening today on July 17th in 2025 when no one is paying attention, no one's talking about it, everyone is in blind rage about the Epstein files, and I don't blame them. However, right now, what is being voted on today in Congress is the entire setup, groundwork, and an entire infrastructure being laid to move from cash to digital currency. And the number one thing that is not happening today is a ban on a central bank digital currency. This means the ability for the government to take control of your digital bank account where all your money is and turn it off. And this is why I'm so upset and it's not being talked about. Steve, I was the only no vote on the rule last night. And Congress set a record last night, and no one's talking about that either. This was the longest vote held open for a rule in history. And it finally shut down sometime around midnight because there was a deal made, and the deal will not be honored. It was a deal that Speaker Johnson made, and he said that he would put a ban on central bank digital currency in the NDAA. But let me tell you something, that's going to get stripped out in the Senate because what they told us all week long is the Senate does not have the votes to pass a ban on a central bank digital currency.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So you're getting the general gist of this. She goes on for a little while longer. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick break. I got more here. Wait till you hear what I got. Stay with me here. Let's try that again. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and you'll find a box there. And when you click on that, it'll take you to their website, and you can read all the technical data and the specifications, how and why this stuff works. It's a fuel catalyst, not a fuel additive. That's big difference, a big difference. So you can read about it, and you can read some of the testimonies. This stuff works, folks. For $20, when you use the promo code, you get 5 tablets for $20. You put 1 tablet in each tank of gas, and once your engine is conditioned for it, you're going to find that it runs cleaner, it has more power, and your mileage will increase somewhere between 15 and 20%, depending upon your make, model, and year of your vehicle and how you drive. So the point is, if you're getting 20% better mileage, you spent $20, got 5 tablets, that means the 5th tank of gas is free. It's a no-brainer, folks. You need to use this stuff. This is good stuff. I wouldn't be promoting it if I didn't know it works. And I've been using it now for a year, and I'm glad that I did. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and get more tank. Okay, that said, let's see. It's about 23 minutes before the top of the hour. I still have a bunch of stuff I want to get to, but I'm going to change gears a little bit here. We've been talking, of course, about the sanctions against anybody who speaks up against the atrocities being committed by Israel. And there are a bunch of different countries. Maybe this is why Francesca Albanese is down in Colombia right now. Maybe that's why she went to South America, because a bunch of countries have had enough of this horrendous action being taken by Bibi Netanyahu and his murderous regime. And they can't call themselves... I got to point something out here. You know, folks like myself and Marjorie Taylor Greene and many millions of others across the world are condemning Israel, and they're being called anti-Semitic for their efforts. Now, how does this work? If people speak out against genocide, if people speak out against snipers blowing the heads off of children, if people speak out against, bombing churches, bombing hospitals, bombing schools, bombing everything, if people speak out against, all these Palestinians being herded down to the beach, say, go down to the beach, stay on the beach, you won't get hurt, but you can't go in the water. And these people are starving. They could go out there and go fishing, and some of the fishermen take their little boat and they go out and try to get some food because their kids are starving to death. And what does Israel do? They start blowing them out of the water. Okay, so if you speak out against this, you're somehow anti-Semitic. Oh, does that mean that genocide and murder and sniping and bombing is inherently Jewish? Is that what it means? I mean, let that sink in. Think about that. That's craziness. That's just insanity. But that's what they want you to think. Anyway, the point is that there are many countries all over the world that are condemning Israel, and we've been trying to stop it. I mean, it's going almost 2 years now. In a couple months, it'll be 2 years since they started this campaign. Actually, they started it back in 1948, And of course, they're saying, oh, well, if they just stop attacking us, if Hamas stops attacking us, we have to kill them before they kill us. Well, wait a second. If you treat them with hatred, you're going to get hatred in return. Why don't you try doing something nice? You give them a reason to hate you. You give them very good reason to hate you. These kids grow up because their mom and dad were blown to bits. They watch their big brother and big sister get sniped, and you think that they're going to be nice to you? Are you insane? Anyway, so a bunch of other countries are getting together and trying to figure out how to stop Israel. Well, they may have a solution. Here it is.
An opportunity has finally arrived to decisively stop Israel's genocide of Palestinians. And if you're listening to this, then you can help make it succeed. On the 15th and 16th of July, over 30 states are meeting in Colombia to decide upon emergency action to stop the genocide. It's chaired by South Africa and Colombia and led by the Hague Group, all states that are politically committed to the liberation of Palestinian people. It is clear that the only way to stop the extermination is for states to conduct a military intervention. Right now, 85% of Gaza has been declared a red zone. Israel is slaughtering people coming for aid, building concentration camps, and the IOF has confirmed that any Palestinian outside these camps will be killed. As we've been saying, this is ideological extermination. After 22 months of witnessing the worst atrocities known to humanity, in an opinion poll, nearly half of Israelis answered yes to the question, do you support the killing of all inhabitants of Gaza? Israel is not just committing genocide, but it is committed to genocide. I know this is a difficult pill to swallow, but boycotts, sanctions, and divestments, while useful, are not enough to stop the extermination in Gaza. Israel already has everything it needs on the ground to carry on killing. They have built a vast ecosystem of genocidal infrastructure to annihilate Palestinians, and experts on genocide have pointed out Israel is carrying out the equivalent of the Nazis' final solution of European Jews, i.e. kill them all. This killing will continue unless the IOF is physically stopped on the ground. Until then, we will carry on witnessing the slaughter of more Palestinians every day. 2 months ago, Protect Palestine members lobbied members of the Hague Group, urging them to form a coalition to undertake a military intervention. Hundreds of emails were sent, and I know from diplomatic contacts that they were received, and it has created pressure in support of a protective force. This meeting in Colombia is now a perfect opportunity for a protective force to be agreed and established. So here is how you can help. On our website at protect-palestine.com/Bogota, you will find a template email to Colombian embassies or the UN missions of all the states attending this meeting, urging them to establish a military force to break the siege, to facilitate the free flow of humanitarian aid, enforce a no-fly zone over Gaza, disarm Israeli military infrastructure, and ensure Israelis evacuate from Palestine as required by international law. There's also an automated email tool allowing you to send an email to states with just a few clicks. This template email also includes an English and Spanish version of our policy briefing, which sets out the legal, humanitarian, and moral obligation upon states to conduct a military intervention to stop this genocide, as well as answers to many frequently asked questions. If enough people do this, it ensures that the ministers in the decision-making room are made aware of the surging international demand for a military intervention, and it will build confidence in taking immediate action. Sending this email will take just less than a minute, so please take action to back a military intervention and keep up the momentum until the genocide stops and Palestine achieves liberation.
Okay, and if you'd like to participate, you can. The website is protect-palestine.com/Bogota, as in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia. Protect-palestine.com/Bogota. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you because, enough is enough. And I have to ask the Americans, do you understand what that means? When is enough enough? Where is your line in the sand? Do you even have a line in the sand? I don't think so. Americans, I'm ashamed to say it, but oh yeah, I'm an American. I dare you to cross this line. Stomp. Oh yeah, well, I double dog dare you to cross this line. Stomp. Hey, okay, I triple dog dare you to cross this line. Stomp, stomp. What's on TV? That's about the size of it for Americans. Anyway, so while everybody's been focusing on Epstein, whatever, and it's just going on and on and on, all the other stuff is going on. Like I said, watch my right hand so you don't see what my left hand is doing. And the bigger thing that the right hand's messing with, it means it's just as big that the left hand is doing something that they don't want you to see. So while we're all focusing on Epstein, what's going on with the World Health Organization? Well. I played this clip, and I will play it again. As a matter of fact, first of all, let me go to the WEF. Ursula vanDerlere and she just loves to talk about these vaccines. Yeah, this is an indication of what you're going to get if you keep your mouth shut. Here it is.
We have this horrible pandemic. We have the vaccines, the life-saving vaccines, but they are not being used adequately everywhere.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Yeah, we got these vaccines. We all know about the hokey-pokey thingy-dingies, right? That's what they want to do.
And thus, this costs, of course, this is an enormous health cost coming along. If you look at the numbers, we have now 77% of the adults in the European Union vaccinated, or if you take the whole population, it's 66%. And this means 1/3 of the European population is not vaccinated. These are 150 million people. This is a lot. And not each and everyone can be vaccinated. So there are very small children, for example, or people with special medical conditions. But the vast majority could. And therefore, I think it is understandable and appropriate to lead this discussion now, how we can encourage and potentially think about mandatory vaccination within the European Union. This needs discussion. This needs a common approach, but it is a discussion that I think has to be led.
Yeah, mandatory vaccinations. You heard it. And remember Alan Dershowitz at the height of the pandemic? And he was saying that you do not have the right to refuse a vaccine. He said that. Yes, he did. So all of these wonks, all of these wankers are in lockstep. And I played this clip. This is, I believe her name is Nass. She is with the WHO, and she made the following statement. Listen very carefully of what they've got planned for us all.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative.
Are you hearing this?
Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do.
They can't be done. It can't. How can you make a vaccine in 100 days and not know what the long-term effects are going to be? They don't care. Don't forget, they want to knock off, 7.5 billion people off of this planet. You think that they care about you? What else have you got to say, Ms. Nass?
And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts, provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists.
Oh, okay. Did you hear that? Keep listening.
Can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey.
I'm speechless. They can do anything that they want. If we give them the authority, they can just declare a pandemic based on anything that they say, and then you must comply. Mandatory vaccinations, shutdowns, lockdowns, you name it.
Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
Unbelievable. I mean, these people actually believe this. This is what's so terrifying. And you know, as they say, silence is consent. So you folks out there listening, you're going to say nothing? Okay, well, then you get what you didn't ask for, okay? Well, you know what? I gotta give kudos to RFK Jr. I don't agree with everything he's saying. I had a real problem when he said that in the next 4 years, everybody's going to be wearing Fitbits, which is nothing more than monitoring devices. That's another issue altogether. But in regard to this whole thing about the WHO power grab that you just heard about from Ms. Nass, here's what he had to say.
Hello, everyone. This is your HHS Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. I want to speak to you today about a controversial issue that could directly impact you and your family during a global health emergency. Last year, the World Health Organization's governing body made some far-reaching amendments to its international health regulations, otherwise known as the IHR regulations. These regulations establish the legal framework that gives countries rights and responsibilities for managing public health events with global impact. The deadline to reject these amendments is next week, and we are rejecting them. So I'd like to explain to you why. The first reason is national sovereignty. Nations who accept the new regulations are signing over their power in health emergencies to an unelected international organization that could order lockdowns, travel restrictions, or any other measures it sees fit. In fact, it doesn't even need to declare an emergency. Potential public health risks are enough for it to initiate action. If we're going to give the WHO that much power, we should at least invite a thorough public debate, especially since the agreement is an official treaty and it bypasses the U.S. Senate, which plays a key role in ensuring major international commitments receive proper democratic oversight. To make matters worse, the new regulations employ extremely broad language that gives the WHO unprecedented power. They require countries to establish systems of risk communication so that the WHO can implement unified public messaging globally. That opens the door to the kind of narrative management and propaganda and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. We don't want to see that kind of system institutionalized even further. The agreement also contains provisions about global systems of health IDs, vaccine passports, and a centralized medical database. It lays the groundwork for global medical surveillance of every human being. Maybe if the WHO were an infallible authority, untainted by industry influence, we would consider accepting the new regulations. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic demonstrated otherwise. During COVID, the WHO failed to enforce the international health regulations that were already in place for generations. China withheld critical information about the outbreak for at least a month and faced no real consequences or criticism from WHO. As the 2024 Congressional Oversight Report put it, the WHO was misinformed, denied access to China, and used as a cover for the Chinese Communist Party's reckless action. These and other atrocities make one thing clear. We must strengthen national and local autonomy to hold global organizations in check and to restore a real balance of power. Underneath all the bureaucratic language, what's at stake here is a vision for our future. Are we going to be subjects to a technocratic control system that uses health risks and pandemic preparedness as a Trojan horse to curtail basic democratic freedoms? Do we want a future where every person, every movement, every transaction, and every human body is under surveillance at all times? Now, I don't want to be too alarmist. The new regulations aren't in themselves medical totalitarianism. In fact, they were perhaps written with good intentions, but they are definitely a step in the wrong direction. That's why we're rejecting the amendments, not only on behalf of our own citizens, but the whole world. After all, America could simply ignore the WHO. But few other countries are as powerful as the United States. Even though many of these amendments are phrased to be non-binding, as a practical matter, it's hard for many countries to resist them, especially when they are dependent on the WHO funding and its partnerships. That's why we're taking leadership to stop an agreement that's bad for the entire world. I want to be clear that in rejecting these amendments, President Trump and I are not rejecting international cooperation. We can cooperate with other nations without jeopardizing our civil liberties, without undermining our Constitution, and without ceding away America's treasured sovereignty. That's my commitment to you. That's President Trump's commitment to you. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless our country.
I hope that you're telling the truth. I hope and pray that this is accurate. I don't know. I don't know what to believe at this point, but and a lot of Americans feel the same way. We don't know who to believe or what to believe. I mean, we've been lied to by the left. We've been lied to by the right. We're being lied to by everybody. And, excuse me, back into this issue about, watching my right hand while my left hand is doing something. Well, I don't want to downplay the importance of the human trafficking issue with Epstein. As a matter of fact, I got one more clip here. I think I can get this in here. Clay Higgins was discussing what happened with their investigation into some of these young children who have been trafficked. And you follow the money trail. Guess where it goes? Guess where it goes? To the NGOs. Yeah, U.S. aid and all that stuff. Here's Clay Higgins.
According to my research, which will very soon be revealed next week, they've rescued so far 35,000 tender-age kids. How you like that? Now, according to Ms. Hopper's research, which I find fascinating, everybody up here should, 70% of the documentation turned in by so-called sponsors, which were lined up by who? The NGOs.
NGOs.
The who? Primarily HHS. It was a pipeline, man. We fed a pipeline of tender-age children into sex trafficking.
That's the Department of Health and Human Services, folks. We've been doing it.
And slave labor into our country. We're finding these kids. We're tracking this fraudulent documents. You're right, Ms. Hopper. My research showed a little bit less, 65%. You said 70%. I'll go with 70. So be advised. Be advised. We are building out case files, criminal case files. We're interviewing these 35,000 kids, and we're finding out exactly what the hell happened, how they ended up in the nightmare where they were, and we're rescuing more. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. We're going to identify these children. We're locating these children. We're rescuing these children. And we're building out criminal files based upon the testimony of these young teenagers and the documentation of fraudulent vetting. And many of these NGO employees are going to find themselves wearing orange, be their new favorite color. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the indulgence. I yield.
I certainly hope so. I want to see perp walks. And a lot of us do. And you look back at what's been going on over the past year, 2 years, everything that's been happening, and nobody's been arrested. Nobody. How can we have faith in our government and in justice and in the sovereignty of our country if we can't get justice? Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Yeah, this is going to pretty much wrap it up here. But and if you are enjoying the broadcast, I certainly hope you are. Please like, share, subscribe, and spread the word. And you can support us. We have a GoFundMe at our page, TheWTFReports.com. If you care to make a donation, we would certainly appreciate it. And you can also make a donation, get your baseball cap, get your T-shirts, get your coffee mugs. And you can also get the T-shirt with those 3 magic words: bribery, coercion, and blackmail. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for another week of broadcasting madness. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. These are the WTF reports. I thank you all for your listenership. And, hey, that's it. God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay free. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you on Monday.